And welcome to our expert webinar, Upskilling and Reskilling Strategies to Create Future-Proof Careers. Our guest today is Anil Santhapuri, Director of Learning and Development, CGI. We're sponsored today by Freshers World, and we'll be live streaming both on Simplilearn and Freshers World channels. My name is Stuart Creek. I'm a marketing manager here at Simplilearn. And before we start, a little housekeeping. Here's how you participate in the webinar. The Q&A button with the question mark allows you to enter questions for Anil, which we will take at the Q&A portion of the webinar at the end. So please use that for any questions you want to ask. Remember to hit send. The chat button, please use all panelists to send a message to us. If you send it to host only, we may not see it. And let's get started. I'm going to start with a poll. And to do that, I will stop sharing for a moment. The poll is very simple. Basically, what is your job role? And how do you feel today? And we'll launch the poll. There are a lot of other options besides what's on this poll. There we go. There we are. We'll give you about another 45 seconds to answer the poll. And the rating scale for how you're feeling today is thumbs up or thumbs down, or in the middle. And you have about 15 seconds to put your answers in. Three, two, one. And here are the poll results. So today we have, most people are feeling okay today, and the largest group of people answering are other professional. So with that, I'm going to go back and introduce Anil. And he is the Director of Learning and Development at CGI. He has won the Learning in Practice Award in 2017 and 2018 from Chief Learning Officer magazine. He has a broad and varied career that spans a number of companies from Western Union all the way up to CGI. So we're very pleased to have him here today. And Anil, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Stuart. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good evening and good morning, everyone, depending on wherever you're joining from in the world. Yeah, it was very interesting to see the poll response. 40 of you said other professionals. So is it okay if you could go to chat and share details of what did you mean when you say other professionals? What do you do? So we quickly take 5 seconds. I know it would help me relate better to each one of you. So, and just go to the chat and share. And in the meantime, I'll share my screen so that we can get started. A risk and governance, attitude trainer, biologist in transition. I'm very interested. Let me project management professional, senior software engineer, assistant banking professional, technical support engineer. Excellent. So we have people from all walks of life. PMP. Excellent. Excellent healthcare. Wow. Electronics engineer, mechanical engineer. Brilliant. So Stuart, I'll get started, and then from a help with chat and Q&A, will I get support with Q&A? But I'll try to toggle in between. That's not a problem.
Yeah, you need to look at the Q&A because we do have someone who is logging the responses for later on.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. So really happy to be here to spend next 45-50 minutes with all of you and share some insights around upskilling and reskilling strategies to create future-proof careers. And it's a lot wordy, so we will see how that goes. So anyone on today's call can identify whose picture is this? Anyone? Any guesses? And there's an interesting story related to the picture too. Yeah, I see some comments saying not sure. Wow, Gautam, I think you got it right. The first woman who swam the English Channel. Kudos to you, Gautam. So here is the image of picture of Florence Chadwick. Born in 1919, and she was the first woman to swim across the English Channel. And there's an interesting story about her, and I would like to start today's session with her story. In 1950s, when she crossed the English Channel, the first woman to swim across the English Channel, and on July 4th, 1952, she attempted something even more brilliant. She tried to swim across from Catalina Island to LA, which is a 25 miles of stretch. In a cold winter night, and it was a 25 miles of stretch, and she actually swam for 15 hours. All through the night, she was swimming through 15 hours. And right there to support her on a lifeboat was her coach and her father. And her father actually carried a rifle in his hand to kind of scare away sharks, because there were actually sharks in the water. So after a long 15 hours of swim in 25 miles in this cold winter night, Florence was almost half a mile close to her destination to reach the LA, the other side of the shore. And as she started getting really close to it, like half a mile, even a lot closer, she suddenly waves her hand up in the air and says, "I'm giving up. I can't do this any longer. Pull me into the boat." So her father and coach, absolutely surprised, double check with her, saying, "Are you really sure?" And she says, "Yes, just pull me out. I can't do this any longer." And then they pull her out. And long story short, fast forward, the next day when they were interviewing her, they asked her, "You swam for all 15 hours and you're just half a mile away from your goal, your destination. Why did you pull yourself out in the last leg of your swim?" Florence broke down in tears and she started crying. She said, "I couldn't see my goal. It was really foggy." And there lies a very interesting moral of the story. Your goal can be really near, your goal can be really far, but when there's fog, when there's blur, which is blocking your view, you actually can't see your goal, and that's when you tend to get distracted from your goal and give up. So if she cried and said, if my dad and my coach told me I was just half mile away, I would pull every ounce of my energy and swim through. I could do it, but no one told me, and all I saw was fog. Therefore, I gave up. I thought I'll start with that story today because as we speak, all of us collectively are going through a similar kind of fog. With the COVID affecting the whole world economy, affecting the whole world economy, everything that's happening in the world. There's a kind of uncertainty in which we are all living, and that kind of pulls this fog in front of our eyes, and therefore we might be distracted from paying attention to what it would mean for our own career, right? So here is a quick thought. As you speak today, as you responded to those questions, what's your role and how you're feeling today in the current situation in your own life? What is the fog you're facing? Quickly take a minute, leave some comments in the chat, and I'll quickly browse through it and we can continue with our story. What's your fog in your life in the current situation? What am I chasing a moving target? Current job role, somebody says. Age, lack of skills for a dream job. Future, uncertainty of future, somebody says. Change in market conditions, keeping up with competition. Knowledge, somebody says knowledge is the fog for them. Don't know what my current job, what's the future prospect of my current job. Decision making, hectic situations, experience, career growth, laziness, procrastination, learning agility. There you go. Peace. Wow. Thank you all. Really, really great. Pandemic became a fog for somebody because you lost your job. Domain, age, time management, project delays, changing requirements, work pressures. Thank you all. I mean, that's really, really brilliant. Thank you all for being vulnerable, open. So let's stay with the fog. The first thing to do with the fog is accept it, acknowledge it, and then see how we could overcome. More responses are coming through. Procrastination, so on and so forth. So let's stay with this thought of the fog, and now let's see how is this fog manifesting in all of our lives in different ways. Let's see. So this graph is picked from the book written by Thomas Friedman. It's called Thank You for Being Late, and it's an interesting graph because it shows how technology has been growing exponentially. You see the technology curve exponentially growing up, and human ability to adapt to it, which is almost like a 45 degrees or slightly lower slope of curve. Now, what's very interesting is when you look at this graph, rate of change versus time, as humanity, as humans, we're at a very interesting juncture where the technology which we all created is actually growing at an exponential rate, and we, for the first time in the history of humanity, are playing the catch-up game. So we're at the interesting tip of the diamond. You could see the diamond where we are, and the sooner we can play the catch-up game, we can learn faster and govern smarter. That's when we can catch up with technology, or else it's going to be difficult. That's one digital fog or digital blur which we all are facing. So because of this rapid change in technology and the need for us to adapt quickly, it leads to certain circumstances, and let's see what those are. The first one, very interesting again. Since 2000 seems like yesterday, but it's actually 2 decades ago. More than 50% of Fortune 500 companies no longer exist. Imagine, Fortune 500 are some of the best organizations in the world. They no longer exist because of the upshoot in technology. We have new business models coming in, new channels in which we deal with our clients and customers, therefore new organizations and new ways of doing things. And therefore, even some of the best organizations out there couldn't play the catch-up game, and therefore they lost in the whole race. So that's another fog they had to deal with, and they kind of dealt it in a that way, and that's a challenge we all are facing collectively and individually. Now, I would like to, in next couple of minutes, bring some of your perspective to a report published very recently in the month of October by World Economic Forum. The report is titled "Future of Jobs 2020." Some of you would have seen it, but this report has a lot of implications for each one of us. Doesn't matter whichever industry, and we're really excited to see people from various industries on today's call, doing various jobs in today's call. So here are some highlights. It's a very detailed report. I would highly recommend each one of you to go to World Economic Forum's website and spend time on the Future of Jobs report. So I'll give you a couple of glimpses and some imperatives. So this Future of Jobs report, published in the month of October last month, projects how the workplace of the future 5 years from now would be. And here are 6 imperatives I wanted to bring to all of your notice. And with these imperatives, we'll start digging deeper. The first imperative: accelerated technology adoption. Technology was always going in a faster rate thanks to fourth industrial revolution. And after COVID, what happened was digital transformation became a big priority for most CEOs and CXOs. And therefore, there's an accelerated nature in which technology is getting adopted. Because of which, some of the technologies which are highly in demand are cloud, big data, e-commerce. Also, other topics which are catching up quickly are encryption, AI, and non-humanoid robots on the rise. So that side of technology is playing the quick catch-up game. So that's an imperative for you to think over. Second one, automation and RPA was always a big focus, but because of COVID, it kind of double disrupted the whole realm of automation. Many CXOs, if you read the report from World Economic Forum and other reports, talk about how they're trying to automate most of their business processes and replace part of their human workforce with machines. And again, by 2025, the estimation by this report is the current job roles, current tasks and activities which humans are playing at workplace, 50% of that would be either automated or by taken over by machines, and only 50% would be left for humans. So automation is actually double disrupted. Second big imperative for you to keep in mind. The third one, jobs of tomorrow. And this is again a very interesting insight. So the way technology is shifting, we're going to displace some existing jobs. There's some jobs in the current workforce globally which will no longer exist in the future thanks to automation and technology adoption. And because of technology shaping up, there will be new jobs which will be created, and those are called new role emerging jobs. So the estimate for next 5 years is there will be 85 million jobs globally which will be replaced, and 97 million jobs which will emerge, which are new. And we'll see what those are as we go. And then that's good news, right? 97 million is more than 85 million. Having said that, the problem is with imperative 4. When you look at imperative 4, there's a huge skill gap with the existing workforce in organizations. At least 40% of workforce globally in existing organizations need minimum 6 months or around 6 months of reskilling time. So I'm not talking about days training or a 2-day training or a week-long training. I'm talking about 6 weeks of training. Imagine how much amount of effort you need to kind of bring about that reskilling. And there are also new skill gaps in the student, the students coming from colleges and universities also have a skill gap. So these two put together creates a very interesting gap in the overall talent ecosystem. That's a fourth imperative. Now, fifth imperative, as technology is getting disrupted, COVID caused its own disruption. Everyone is impacted, but if you don't do a good job, there's a very high chance that younger workforce, women workforce, or even workforce with age might face some situations of inequality. So we need to keep an eye on that too as we go. And then the last piece is, as all this is happening in an accelerated way, the window of opportunity to reskill and upskill all of us is getting shorter and shorter. So it's really important. So forget about the 85 million displaced jobs. Even those roles which are not displaced, even the roles which stay, 40% of the roles are changing, which means they need to be reskilled and retrained. and at least 50% of employees, all the companies which took the survey say needs reskilling. So look at these 6 imperatives together. We're talking about next couple of years in the horizon, the amount of shift which is happening, and that's going to create a lot of interesting challenges, but also a lot of interesting opportunities. So with this imperatives, I'm going to take you further deeper into some of the insights right here. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so here is an interesting one. So all of you currently in the workforce, and I saw many of you, there were not many, a couple of, significant part of you are students, but those who are currently already in the workforce, this is an interesting slide for you. What this slide tells you is, when you look at the horizon from now till 2025, which technologies will be adopted the most? Forget of the industry. We'll come back to industry later. When you go to the report, you'll see the industry. But irrespective of the industry, these are the technologies which are getting adopted the most. Cloud computing, big data, IoT, encryption, AI, ML, text, image, and voice processing, e-commerce, and digital trade. And if you see, compared to 2018 and 2025, the difference, there's a huge upward progression in most of these technologies. So these are the areas in which they're going to be significant opportunity to reskill and upskill. So irrespective of whichever domain industry you are, keep an eye on these technologies. So you could say, I'm from a manufacturing background. I work in a manufacturing industry. I work in a pharma industry. What does this mean to me? For example, if you work in a pharma industry, you need to keep an eye on how can big data analytics change the business model of pharma. So how can you apply the technology of big data in a use case of pharma? And that could be an interesting mix. So, we all need to ground ourselves in our foundations and still pick on this additional skills irrespective of the domains we represent. So it's not just for those in IT industry, it's universal. So that's a big insight for existing workforce to see which technologies are getting implemented across industries, across domains. Obviously, between various industries, there will be the duration of adoption will be different, but still overall, the top implementations, and that will kind of drive your approach. You could start thinking of your own reskilling, upskilling journey. Now, this is another fascinating infographic from the same report, and this has a lot of COVID influence to it, but still very fascinating. So the way to read the report is, all the young workforce who were pre-COVID, 6 months before, 8 months before, a year before, were working in those 6 industries on the left: higher education, restaurants, retail, food and beverages, entertainment, and hospitality. Because of the disruption of COVID, they're actually displacing themselves into new industries. And you can see the new industries on the right-hand side: hospitality and healthcare, financial services, IT and services, education management, not-for-profit management. So, and what's helping them make the displacement are the roles you see in the center. So they are picking their existing experience, existing knowledge, and learning these new roles to displace into the right-hand side. So those of you who are students on the call, here is an insight for you in terms of how the younger workforce have started displacing themselves across industries because of the COVID effect, and that will give an insight of which industries will have, we saw the technologies will be implemented in that slide, but this slide talks about which industries will have most opportunities from a career perspective. So again, a very interesting insight. This again comes from World Economic Forum. That's the second insight I wanted to share with you. Now the third one, this is again very interesting, and I saw many of you from project management background, many of you from engineering background, healthcare, pharma, various backgrounds, and you might be thinking, how do I deal with the fog of how do I, in this new era of technology, what happens to my job? How do I transition? This image again from World Economic Forum 2020 report has those insights for you. The way to read the report is, if you look at data and AI, what it says is, people who will transition into data AI roles, the dark blue band is people who grew in the same role. They'll continue. They were trained in the same role. They stay in the same role. The light blue band is people who are in same job cluster. So they had some experience in AI or data. But if you see the entire peach pan, are people moving into data and AI from other job clusters, other unrelated job clusters. So what it's meaning is there's so many, we saw in the first slide that there are quite a few job openings in this new technologies like cloud, big data, analytics, humanoid and AI ML, right? And e-commerce. Now what we're saying is to fill those job roles, people will grow in the same job clusters as you've seen in the dark and the light blue shades. But since there are enough openings and these roles are easy to adapt from other industry, almost 50% or more of workforce in these roles will come from other job clusters, other job families. So some of you sitting on the conversation today saying, hey, I don't have an experience in data and AI, I'm a project manager. This is what it says. You could potentially move to a data and AI track or cloud computing track, product management track. So there's a need, there is acceptance that you could make this career shifts. Obviously, you need a bit of training and learning. We'll come to that piece around upskilling and reskilling. But this shows what are those occupations and job clusters of the future, which are actually open to take in people from other job clusters and occupations. So it should give you some interesting insights as you're planning your own future for yourself. So that's the third insight I want to share with you. The fourth one is in the same report, World Economic Forum, they talk about what are the top 15 skills of 2025. And as I talk to these slides, I want each one of you to pay complete attention to these items from 1 to 15. And I'll read them out for you, but as I'm reading them out, please process it with me. Analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality and initiative, leadership and social influence, technology use, monitor and control, technology designing and programming, resilience, stress tolerance and flexibility, reasoning, problem solving, ideation, emotional intelligence, troubleshooting and user experience, service orientation, systems analysis and persuasion and negotiation. As you heard me speak and look at those 15 top skills of future for 2025, it's actually quite surprising, right? Most of us would have thought there'll be a lot of technology things written there. There are only 2 or 3 technology things, 7 and 8. Technology use monitor, technology designing and programming, and there's a bit of troubleshooting, which is 12. And 14 is more systems thinking. So what's interesting is as most of the motor skills kind of jobs for humans are getting automated, the higher cognition, the higher decision-making functions are the kind of jobs which will stay with humans. Therefore, there's a dire need to be successful in that kind of future. There's a dire need to have better cognitive skills, better problem-solving skills, better service orientation, better leadership skills, better emotional intelligence. And if you see item number 9, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility came out of COVID. All of us went through that, right? And I want all of you to pay special attention to number 2, active learning and learning strategies. Things are going to change so fast and they'll continue to change so fast. What will keep you at the top of your game is your ability to learn quickly and have unique learning strategies to keep learning. So a big takeaway headline for me is the skills of future are less of technical. Technology is important, but beyond technology is cognitive skills, emotional skills, higher order problem solving skills, higher order relationship skills like emotional intelligence, and higher order self-management skills like resilience, so on and so forth. You see critical thinking, complex problem solving, creativity, originality, initiative. That's what's going to drive all the roles you saw on the earlier slides. So again, a big takeaway, you could quickly do a brain math and brain assessment of where you think you are against these skills and how can you build these skills for yourself for the future. So that was my 4th imperative. Now, putting it all together, this is a nice 2x2 grade by McKinsey. And the way to read is x-axis is existing and new jobs, y-axis is human and digital skills. So the 4 quadrants being in existing jobs, we need human skills. And obviously it's very obvious with the way technology is shifting. these jobs are going to get displaced. So the bottom left corner, jobs are getting displaced and moving up to all the three quadrants. Now, if you move up, existing job digital skills is area where RPA automation kind of things are happening, where new work is done, new technologies are applied in an old job. That's where it's left side top quadrant. If you move right, new jobs, human skills is where human skills are taught to people, and you saw on the earlier slide that quite a few human skills which are taught to people. So one example, the meteorological department in Australia did this huge project. So they had like around 1,000 to 1,200 members, and the job was very easy. They're the weather department in Australia. So the job was to these people living across in Australia. I lived in Australia for a while, so I know how vast the continent can be. The job is at a certain time of the day, go open up the weather balloons, launch them into the atmosphere, and it will collect some readings, come back down, bring it back home. It's a very physical kind of a work. So what they did, they worked with some automation organizations, and they automated the whole thing through robotics. Robots started displacing all this, the job of taking the weather balloons in various weather conditions, morning, evening, night, even in central Australia where it can get really hot. So, and the biggest fear everybody had was, if we're going to use robots for all this work, are we going to lose jobs? Will we send the people who got home? But long story short, after they implemented, what they found was all the people who were doing the weather balloon kind of a job, they got higher order jobs where they started working in the office, taking phone calls, doing customer service calls with citizens, talking to them, giving them feedback. So nobody lost their jobs, just the nature of their jobs increased. That's the right-hand quadrant, new jobs, human skills. That's what technology would do. Now, if you look at the top-hand right quadrant, is digital skills required to create, steer, and maintain technology in newly created ITC jobs. So that's the area of reskilling. So if you have to look at this, left top quadrant is the area of upskilling. Bottom right is also area of upskilling, but there's a bit of human reskilling. And then right hand top corner is where you have real skilling happening. So various types of skilling, and generally the way we use this terms are in the existing technology, new way of doing things, or incremental learning is called upskilling. You take a Java programmer, train them on data and AI, then that's reskilling. And then, that's how you kind of read those four definitions, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what's very interesting to read is something called metaskilling. Since things are changing so much, and you saw in the earlier slide, skill number 2, learning and advanced learning technologies. So metaskilling, the best way to define it is our lifelong habits, enable individuals to develop new mindset, embracing lifelong learning and other overarching life skills. So the way things have been happening for a while, couple of metaskilling skill areas which all of us should be adapting to is learning agility, ability to learn things faster, emotional intelligence because things are changing so much, and then agile, ability to work in agile way. So I would say learning agility, just working things in a very agile and iterative way, and also emotional intelligence are like 3 lifelong skills which will help you irrespective of whichever career, whichever job, whichever function or domain you work in. So those are some of the insights I wanted to share with all of you from how technology is shifting all this, right? And if I have to summarize, if I quickly jog your memory and do quick headlines, 6 imperatives: technology is accelerating, automation is getting disrupted, jobs are getting displaced, new jobs are getting created, but there's a huge skill gap, inequality could get affected, and then the window of opportunity to reskill, upskill is very short. So we need to act quickly. Then people currently in workforce, this is where these are the technologies which are getting implemented as we speak, irrespective of domains and functions. And then people who are students getting into workforce, this is where younger workforce used to work a while back, but they are moving to new industries. So that's a sense it gives you of which way the industries are shifting for younger workforce who are going to enter workforce soon. Then the the new technology areas which are open to accept people from various occupations and job clusters: data and AI, cloud computing, product development, people and culture. As you can see, market, interestingly, even sales. Sales as a function is open to invite people from other backgrounds. So those of you who wanted to make career changes, reskilling, upskilling, here's a good indicator. You should definitely read the report more, but again, good insight. And then the top 15 skills needed for 2025, the big headline is technology is not the answer. The answer is higher order problem solving skills, higher order self management, and higher order relationship and emotional intelligence is the need of the future. Therefore, summarizing, apart from picking skills along the way, reskilling and upskilling, each one of us need to pick certain meta skills, which will set you up for success, not just today, but future. 3 meta skills I can think of is self-awareness and emotional intelligence, learning ability, and thirdly, ability to work in a very agile way are 3 meta skills which will help you throughout your career. That's a big headline. So if that was a summary, taking a leaf from Alice in the Wonderland book, there's the famous point in the story where Alice walks into the forest, and there's a tree and there's a fork in the road. One road goes left, one road goes right, and Alice is stuck there. And she looks at the top of the tree. There's Cheshire Cat sitting there right on the tree. And Alice asks this question: which road should I take? And Cheshire Cat, who's supposed to be wise, looks at Alice and says, depends on where you want to go. And then if you read the book or watched the movie, then Alice says, I don't know where I want to go. Then the cat replies, then it doesn't matter. Take any of the roads, it will lead you there. Yeah, I want all of you to ponder over the conversation between Alice and the cat. So if you don't know where you are going, any road will lead you there, because you don't have a goal, you don't have an aim, you don't have a direction. Doesn't matter. So that's the question. Yeah, there's a lot happening in the industry, a lot of shifts, a lot of transformation, a lot of changes. But the question is, do you know where you want to go? That's where I would like to start and dig a little deeper. Yeah, we saw how the whole world, external world, is changing us. But if I have to make this journey, and if you go back to the topic of today's session, there are lots of words there. There was a word called future. There's a word called upskilling. We explained that. There's a word called reskilling. We explained that. We looked at a glimpse into the future. Now I'm coming to the word called career. Now, if you go back and look at the topic of today's session, it didn't say reskilling and upskilling strategies for your job. It said reskilling and upskilling strategies for your career. Career is not job. Career is more longer term. Career is based on your goals, your aspiration, your dreams, your values, your purpose, your mission. Job gives you financial security, gives you money, but career gives you a lot more than that. The question is, do you know what career you want to make? And then you saw the glimpses of the future, which I gave you till now. But once you're clear about your own career and your passion around your career, you can look at all the insights from technology, from the future, and then start planning your own career. So here is the Cheshire Cat and Alice moment for you to ask yourself, do you know where you want to go? That's one of my biggest questions for you. And as you're pondering over that, I want to leave you with 5 strategies of how to answer this question, and probably also set yourself on the journey of reskilling and upskilling. So strategy number 1, know your values, your individual core values and strengths. That's the first way to get started on the journey. I would highly recommend all of you go to this website called viacharacter.org. And later when we do Q&A, I'll try to post this link in the chat, viacharacter.org. And there's a free assessment. When you take the free assessment, you get a report of your top 5 personal values. I've taken this assessment. I got introduced to this core value assessment almost a decade back. And from then, I used the results from my values in every decision and choice I've made. So that's really, really important. So I would highly recommend you do that. Also, to understand what are your strengths at the workplace, There's a beautiful assessment from Gallup called Strength Finder. You could go to Gallup's website, take the assessment. It's a paid assessment. Or you could buy Gallup's book. The book is called Strength Finder 2.0. If you buy the book, the paperback edition in India, you get the access code at the back of the book. And with the access code, you can take your own strength assessment. I would highly recommend you taking your Gallup strength assessment, because with these two, you know your foundations. If you know your core values, you're able to articulate your core values, and you know what are your work strengths, that lays your foundation. That's like helping Alice figuring out where she wants to go and what she wants to do. So that's my first strategy for you. Know your values and know your strengths. Strategy number 2, going back to the skill number 2, learning strategies, active learning strategies. How can you be at the top of your game and build a lifelong meta skill of being a learner, be an agile learner? The solution lies in being curious. Can you be curious with the following 3 things? Can you be curious about yourself? What's happening inside you, your own emotion awareness, emotional intelligence? Can you be curious about the world around you? Why is the world the way it is? Learn more about it, question it, ponder over it. And can you also be curious about people around you? Those are the 3 facets of building curiosity. And curiosity as a skill will help you build learning agility, and it will lead to a lifelong meta skill. Again, to understand where you are today in your sense of curiosity, I invite you to take this assessment from Global Curiosity Institute. It's a free assessment. I took they launched it recently, very recently, just a couple of weeks back. I took my own assessment and I got a very fascinating report of 8 to 10 pages of how curious am I with the world around me, how curious I am with people around me, and finally, and most importantly, how curious am I about my own self, my own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And that builds my sense of learning agility. So I would again invite you, all of you, to take this assessment, to build this sense of curiosity, to build the skills of the future 2025. Moving to strategy number 3, you know where you are, you know your current role, and you saw how technology is shifting, all the insights I gave you from the World Economic Forum report. And then by the time you arrive at strategy number 3, you already would have done your strategy number 1, which is identifying your core values, knowing your strengths, and then identifying how good are you in curiosity. So assuming you do all that at this stage, in the sequence of things, in the same chronological order, I would recommend all of you to then, with all the information you have, sit down and do a SWOT analysis. SWOT is a simple problem-solving analysis which helps you choose between one or more choices. What are my strengths in a given situation? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities and what are my threats? You do this analysis and then you're able to score the options you have. So I would highly recommend each one of you sit down and go through these questions. What are my career strengths? What are my career weaknesses? What are my career opportunities and what are my career threats? And do an overall outlook of your SWOT analysis. And then based on SWOT analysis, grade the outputs, options you have for yourself. If you just do a simple Google search on how to do a SWOT analysis, you'll get hundreds of hits, very good resources which will help you to walk through these 4 stages, but very, very intuitive process, but highly reflective in the nature. So I would highly recommend, after doing all that I've done so far, strategy 1 and 2, you sit and do a career SWOT to see what career options you have. And the time frame I would want you to keep in mind is next 2 to 3 years. Next 2 to 3 years is the time frame, not beyond that. I would definitely recommend as strategy 3 doing a SWOT analysis. Now, strategy number 4, this has again been my own personal learning, and it kind of accentuated and increased after COVID happened, almost 7 or 8 months back. I always had a mentor for a life who has been mentoring me for almost a decade, and I've, whatever career I've made, career choices I've made, the career progress I've made, attribute most of my success and lessons learned to my life mentor. He has, mentored me career choices and life choices. Having said that, the biggest lesson I learned from COVID was sometimes that was not enough. There's so much happening in the COVID time from we use the term VUCA world where things are very volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, so on and so forth. So I had to move beyond having just one mentor to create a network of mentors and coaches for myself. And as I speak, I work with a series of peers, people in same industry, different industry, people who can mentor me irrespective of their age and role and designation, people who can coach me. At one point, just 1 or 2 months back, I was personally getting coached by three coaches together. We formed a small WhatsApp group on the WhatsApp app, and they were all coaching me on a work situation I had. So again, a big takeaway for me, the way things are shifting, we need to be really agile. And the big paradigm shift for me is to move from trying to solve problems with my own experience to a paradigm of trying to solve problems collectively with everyone's experience and learning. So I alone cannot solve the problems. I need inputs and insights from everybody else. That's been a big paradigm shift for me. So I'm going to invite all of you to do the same. Start charting out who could be those mentors and coaches in your life. Personal side, professional, all the aspects of life, financial, doesn't matter. Make a list of those people and stay close to them, spend time with them. They could be your peers, they could be somebody who can play a role of a coach, somebody who can play a role of a mentor. And that's why the image on the right hand side, the biggest question is on this slide, I want to leave all of you with is, if your career was a company, if your career is an organization, who would be on the board of your career? Who are the board of directors of your career? And one of the actions I would suggest all of you to do is after this call, sit down and think, if your career was an organization, who would be on its board? And list down the names of people, and those are your network of mentors and coaches. Then approach them, take their permission, seek their support to help them with the decisions. Also, other invitations I'll make all of you to is, in your respective current profession you're working or the future profession you have aspiration with, identify those communities of practice and be part of those communities. Could be on LinkedIn, could be on WhatsApp, could be on various learning platforms. We have numerous learning platforms now, open source platforms, and all the platforms. Identify those communities of practices and be part of it. So create a network of mentors and coaches for you. That's when you'll be able to move towards your dream career in a very accelerated way. And if you see the last bullet, I said give and take. There's a famous book by Adam Grant on the same topic, give and take. I would highly recommend, if you haven't read the book, read through the book to understand the nuance of what I'm saying. But it all starts by giving, but also equally receiving. And it all starts with identifying who's on your board of directors, your career board of directors. Could even be your life board of directors. Start from there. So to summarize all of this, I would come to strategy number 5. If you do all that, then you can build the most important skill, the meta skill of being a learning individual. And that's what matters than anything else. The way the whole industry and technology is setting. Doesn't matter which domain you are part of, which profession you are part of, your age, which culture you come from, which organizations you work. Future lies with individuals who can be learning individuals. So build that muscle of learning agility. So I would highly recommend, as you saw the technology side of things, in the next 5 years, which technologies are going to, be in the mainstream. Maybe you want to upskill yourself in some of those topics. Maybe you want to reskill yourself in some of those topics. And maybe you also want to learn some of the higher order thinking skills, higher order emotional intelligence skills, all the top 5 skills we saw in the earlier slide. So whatever it is, could be technology, could be adopting some of those emerging skills, could be those higher order thinking skills, decision making skills, emotional intelligence. Create a plan for yourself. So I would highly recommend, the way things are changing, create a quarterly plan. And that's what I've been working for myself, at least for the last 1 or 2 years. I always have a quarterly learning goal, a 90-day learning goal, work on it and move on and do another quarterly learning goal. So this quarter I have 2 learning goals. I'm actually doing a course on learning how to learn. It's a book published by Dr. Barbara Oakley. I'm currently going through that course and book. And also I'm going through a course on life coaching skills. So that's my this quarter's goal. And I'm already planning what to learn in the next quarter coming up. So plan 90-day quarterly goals, plug in your reskilling, upskilling needs, plug in the technology needs, plug in the needs from higher order thinking, skills, problem solving, emotional intelligence, so on and so forth. And for all of these skills, there are numerous opportunities, learning avenues, platforms, digital online platforms, free, paid. You know it well. You just Google, you'll find them. So I'll not go there. But idea is to create learning as a habit. Make a 90-day learning plan. Could be reskilling, upskilling, and see how those learning plans align to your own unique experience and strengths. And where would that come from? That comes from your SWOT analysis. So by the time you reach to strategy 5, you should have done your SWOT analysis. Then proactively find learning opportunities, not just on the job, outside job, with your mentors, with your coaches, with your peers, with your board of directors, with your communities of practice. Could be at job, could be outside job. Then the most important piece is focus on not just learning knowledge, but actually practice, do hands-on practice. So for a simple example, in the area of data and AI, there's so much of free data sets available on the Google. If you just Google them up, there are hundreds of people who are experts and influencers posting their thoughts and comments on Twitter, LinkedIn, with hundreds of data sets. All you have to do is learn technology and then pick those data sets and practice. So move beyond knowledge to practice, and then that's where your network of mentors and coaches and communities of practice will again help you implement it. I would highly recommend, and stay informed of industry trends, be it reports published by NASSCOM in India, reports published. Deloitte recently published a report on the Deloitte Millennial Report, and then World Economic Forum, the report I've been referring to, published the Jobs of the Future 2020. To stay close to these industry thinking bodies, and then stay close to the trends, and then plan your 90. That's why keep it really agile. 90-day goals, not more than that. 90-day learning goals, reskilling, upskilling, 12 weeks, sprints. Run it as a sprint. Run your own life as a sprint. And by doing all that, you build learning agility. And that's the most important meta skill, which will help you deal with the way future is shaping, with the first section of the presentation we saw. And that's the only way for you to rise above the fog. And going back to the story we started with of Florence Chadwick, it was the fog, her inability to see the end goal, which made her give up. So by building these meta skills of being an agile learner and applying these 5 strategies, you can rise above the fog which you currently have in your personal and professional life, or rise above the future fog which you might face in terms of uncertainties, and create a career and a life which is future proof. That's what I wanted to cover. Hopefully it gave you some insights, some thoughts about the way things are shaping up. Now I would like to turn it over to Stuart. And before I do that, a quick summarizing: own your own career, own your development, and be a lifelong learner. Now I'll turn it over to Stuart to do some Q&A. And as we're doing that, wrapping up with this quote: the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's the challenge for all of us.
Thank you, Anna. That's a good thing for us all to remember as we.
That's true.
Yeah. And let me take back the presenter.
Yeah, sure. You can do that, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. And I'd like to thank Anil for joining us today. It's been a great session. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah. It was in my. If I could quickly share my screen for a minute. Actually had
I'll do that. Yes, let me do that in just a moment here.
Yeah. Just give me a second.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Share my screen. Sorry for that.
No worries.
Yeah, there you go. I'll just quickly do it in a minute. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the best way to reach out to me. That's my email ID. But if you have your mobile phones, if you could quickly put the mobile phone and scan the QR code, that's my LinkedIn profile page. You could connect me over LinkedIn and then we could stay connected. Or you could always write to me on my email ID right there. So maybe Stuart, leave it there for 30 more seconds so people could,
Absolutely.
then you can take back the presenter rights. Yeah. Okay, over to you.
I never would have guessed. I was involved in a company that did a digital visual code similar to a QR code. I never would have guessed that one of the applications would be putting the code on a screen so that people with another device could scan the screen.
That's true. I mean, these are different ways in which we can adapt, technology, right? For example, when I run webinars in my organization, we actually put a QR code for feedback surveys now. So the people just scan the QR code and fill the feedback survey in the end. So a lot of interesting applications through the QR code. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to steal that idea.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's not my original idea, so feel free to. Yeah, so over to you. Yeah, you can take the
Thank you.
rights. Yeah.
And again, thank you. And I want to also thank Freshers World, which is part of the Team Lease group of companies, and it's a #1 job portal for freshers in India. And its sister concern, Team Lease, is a leading portal for entry-level jobs and gig jobs, blue-collar jobs, and so these are great career resources for some of the people in our audience today. So we thank them for their sponsorship, and I'd like to let everybody know about our next webinar, which will be Wednesday of next week on December 2nd, 9 p.m. IST, which is 10:30 a.m. on the East Coast of North America. Powering LinkedIn Big Data through Open Source Technologies with Vasant Rajmani of LinkedIn, who is one of their directors of software development, and it will be an excellent session for people who are interested in software development careers. And you can also connect with Simplilearn. We'll have to add our own QR code there. But we are on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we are worldwide. So wherever you are, we would love to hear from you and help you with your ongoing upskilling and continuing learning needs. So that concludes our webinar. And thank you all for being here today. We will be sending out a link to this recording. And for those of you who have been with us this far, you will be getting a certificate of proof of attendance, which will allow you to prove to your employer or your school that you have been paying attention to your ongoing education needs. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.